I feel like I've got the cheat code to sales funnels and I want to share it with you. I just copy and paste this exact sales funnel, and every time I launch it, it makes $1 million for one of my businesses. And I've even taught this to hundreds of clients now, like Robert Chambers, who teaches people how to play piano by ear, and he copied and pasted this funnel and he's making $50,000 a month with it. Lisa and Dana, they teach people interior design and they have a coaching company around that, and they're doing $40,000 a month with this funnel. And now, on that board behind me, I'm gonna go ahead and map out that exact funnel for you so that you can copy and paste it into your business as well. Now, the funnel that we're gonna be talking about is a webinar funnel. And if you have any preconceived ideas about this, then keep those ideas reserved until the end of this video, because the way I teach it is so different to how every other marketing guru teaches it. We keep it so simple, we focus on the things that actually work, and we get extraordinary results in the process. Now, with any great sales funnel, it starts with a page where we're gonna have a bit of a headline, perhaps some more information, and a place for people to opt in. We need to capture their attention. That's why it's also known as a capture page. Now, typically in marketing, we have to create a freebie that we give away in exchange for someone's name and email. It's really time consuming. It takes ages to come up with this idea and then build it and create it and put it on the page. And then that only gets you so far. We now have to create a sales vehicle that we're gonna put them into once they opt in. The great thing about a webinar, and why this is so stupid simple, is that our webinar doubles as the lead magnet. Right? What they're opting in for is the ability to register for the webinar that's happening. So we need a capture page anyway to get them registered, but that's also sending people off to join our email list so that we can follow up with them later on. More on that in just a little bit. And we've tested over the years different lead magnets and other lead generation tactics. And what we found is, in addition to this being so simple, it also gets you quality leads on the list. There's something different about someone that's opting in for a free checklist, right? A quick, impulsive thing. They're not really serious just yet. They just want the gift, as opposed to someone who's registering for an online training event. That is someone who's saying, I'm here to learn, I'm here to consume content, and I wouldn't be registering for this thing unless I was really, really interested. So we find that the value of people that we get on the list with a webinar is infinitely more, meaning over the course of the next few months and years, these people are worth so much more to our business. Now, on the theme of us keeping this simple, here's what happens when they register for this webinar. They go into the webinar presentation, okay? But we don't have anything happening in between here. They register and they pretty much go straight onto the webinar platform. How is this so? It's because we have automated our webinar presentation. I record it one time, and it doesn't matter if 10 people see it, 100 people see it, or 1,000 people see it, or 10,000 people see it. My time investment to create that asset was exactly the same. So my time is highly leveraged, and this is gonna be sitting there and running for me at all times. And what we do is we use webinars that are called JIT webinars. It stands for just in time. So whenever someone lands on my capture page, there's always a webinar happening in just a few minutes. It's not that they're just opting in for a piece of video content. They're registering for an event that is happening online, but it's starting in the next few minutes. So they register and they wait for just a few minutes, and boom, they get put into the automated webinar room where they can consume the presentation. And this means that we can get people to watch the webinar in the very moment that they were interested in the topic, right? They're browsing around online, they see my invitation for the webinar, they've clearly got some time in that very moment, and so we get them straight into the webinar, and then we actually find that we have a 70% consumption rate. Meaning, of people that register, 70% actually show up and watch the webinar. That is really, really high for an automated webinar, in case you're not familiar. Now, you might have two big concerns at this point in the training. The first concern is, are people really gonna register for a webinar happening in just a few minutes that's gonna last maybe 2 hours or more? Is it gonna be a really long webinar? Your second concern might be, John, I don't want to have to put together a 2-hour-long webinar. That sounds really laborious. It makes me really nervous to be able to create that much content. What if I do something wrong? Well, we're gonna smash both of those in one hit, because what we do is this webinar from start to finish is only about 30 minutes. 30 minutes. This is just enough time for us to achieve the goal. You might be wondering what the goal is. Great question. The goal is not to sell somebody your product and service directly on the webinar. Instead, we actually want to produce an opportunity for these people to speak to you on the phone. They're going to book a consultation. They're going to book a strategy session. And there are so many benefits to this. I'm going to share with you one of the main ones. If you don't actually attempt to sell someone on the webinar, and the only call to action is to speak with you on the phone, then the webinar doesn't need to be salesy. In fact, the webinar can be full of valuable information that has you feeling great about what you're producing. It takes away the nerves and the anxiety of feeling like you've got to be a salesperson in this webinar. That's completely removed. And you build your authority and their confidence in you, because clearly you're not desperate for the sale. Otherwise you would have asked for it. That's what affords us the ability to make these webinars a lot shorter. Because 30 minutes, and we've tested this, that's all we need to turn someone from a cold prospect who's never heard of us before to a warm prospect saying, I really like the sound of this person, I'd like to speak to them on the phone. If this style of webinar is new to you, I call these high-ticket webinars. There are so many reasons why the old way of doing webinars, where you're selling in them, just does not work anymore. And this way of doing it is absolutely crushing it. We're making millions and millions of dollars doing it. If you haven't attended my 2-day online event called Future of Webinars, you really should, because I'll break all this down in excruciating detail. I'll leave a link in the description box if you want to register for that event. We've actually got one coming up really, really soon. Now, when you've got a business model where you're going to be speaking to prospects to actually convert them into clients, we need to make sure that we're speaking to serious people. I'm sure you would agree. Already, with people booking calls off the back of the webinar, we are generating quality call bookings because they only had the opportunity to book a call if they made it to the very end of the webinar, right? If they left early, they didn't see this invitation. So already we've got quality people, but we can qualify them further, and this is why this is so powerful, okay? After they book a call, we take them to an application page. And that application page has a series of questions that we're going to ask the prospect. And before we speak to that person, we're going to make sure that we're happy with the answers to the questions on the form. And we're only going to end up speaking to the people on the phone and attempting to sell them our product and service if we actually liked what we heard here. So we can qualify them around their ability to afford our coaching. We can qualify them based on their understanding of us and how long they've been following us. We can qualify them based on their understanding of the industry. And what we find is, of all the people that fill this out, we actually cancel about 20%, okay? So another 20% gets canceled and we only speak to the 80% that we actually liked the sound of. Hopefully you can see how simple this is. I mean, we're going to be driving traffic to a page that builds our list. And then off the back of this, they're going to come into a webinar immediately. Most of the people attend and watch it. The people that aren't serious leave. Those that like your message and appreciated the value that you provided, they moved through to the next step and booked a call with you. And you had a further chance to qualify before you spoke to these people. This is how you can close at such a high rate on the phone. I've got a student called Phil Harris. He's making millions of dollars now, teaching people how to DJ and create electronic dance music. And he was using all sorts of other sales funnels and nothing was really working for his business. He copied and pasted this into his business and he increased the price of his coaching from $500 to $5,000. He started selling it on the phone and he was converting at 70%. Meaning if he speaks to 10 people, 7 of them are buying. And he's just started generating over $100,000 in a single month with this. It's incredible. And it gets better from there. This is your business model, keeping it simple, and it works really well. And then we've got the email list. And over the course of the next few months, you can continue emailing these people, sending them off to different offers, reminding them of your services, and you will find that people continue to show their interest and buy your coaching. And you'll get to a point where this will be one of the most valuable assets in your entire business. We as a company right now generate anywhere between $100,000 and $500,000 every month from the promotions that we're doing to this list. So what I want to do now is actually walk you through one of the most important parts of this system to make sure that you implement it correctly. And it's this piece right here. If we can't get this, what we call the front door to the sales funnel working, then it's not going to work, right? Unless we can get people to actually opt in and take us up on the invitation to register for the webinar, then no one's ever going to see this stuff and we're not going to generate any revenue. So I'm going to pull up right now on my laptop my registration page that I use that we've tested to perfection. We know exactly how this page should look, and you can literally copy and paste this exact page, and I guarantee it will start working in your business. So this right here is the registration page that has stood the test of time. Notice how we've got 40 seconds left because I told you we have these webinars running every few minutes, and we have them running every 15 minutes. So in 30 seconds, there's another session starting. If someone came to this page and registered right now, they would go immediately into the webinar room. But if someone hangs around for another 20 seconds, or if someone just happens to visit this page in, let's say, 3 or 4 minutes, they're going to be landing on a page that has another one starting in a few minutes. So as you can see, the page has now hit 0. And so if I refresh, watch this. The next session is now starting in 14 minutes and 50 seconds. It's an amazing little system. It's so powerful and it's so simple. It makes this whole process really easy. But let me walk you through the design of this page, because you might say, well, John, when you say design, it doesn't actually look very good. Maybe some of you are watching this and you are designers and you're cringing at the fact that we've got a massive headline, we've got some things bolded and underlined, and we've got capitalization at the beginning of every word. This doesn't look like a page that looks beautiful, but we're not building this page for beauty. We're building this page to get as many people to land here to actually opt in. And so when we test different elements of this page, we're testing it for conversion. We're not testing it to make it look better. And I want to walk you through some of the key ingredients that your webinar registration page needs that I guarantee will increase your registration percentage. First thing, big, bold headline that is the main thing they see when they land on the page. With a webinar, you don't need loads of information, you don't need an about you section, you don't need videos, you don't need loads of testimonials. It's a very impulsive decision to register for a webinar. And your prospects just need to read the headline and say, do you know what, that topic sounds really interesting. I'm interested, I'd like to register. So we have a big headline, it hits you square in the face, and that headline's got to be benefit driven, and it's got to speak to exactly who it is that you want. So here's the headline I have. How coaches and trainers can start getting high-paying clients without a complicated sales funnel or endless social media content. I'm speaking directly to who I want, I'm speaking to their desires, and I'm also speaking to the stuff that they don't want. Then we have a big button, whereas if they click that, it's going to pop up the window where they can put their name and email and register for that upcoming session. And further down the page, we have a few more elements that we find really help the conversion on the page. The first is a picture, typically of the person who is hosting the webinar. Here I am on the page, not because I like the look of myself, but because we have found it gives the page a bit of personality. If I've invited someone from a YouTube ad, for example, then when they land on this page, they recognize the personality that's on the page. They recognize me from the YouTube ad, and we find that that really, really helps. And then secondly, we have some bullet points. And these bullet points act as a support for the main headline. If somebody landed on this page and the headline interested them enough to register, fantastic. But there will be some people that read this headline and it's not quite enough to get them to register, but they linger on the page. And so for those people lingering, we need to give them another reason to register for this event. And so we've actually got 3. We've got the first bullet point, the second, and the third. These are things that you're going to be covering in your webinar presentation, but we're mentioning them here on the page because it's another chance and another chance and another chance for the prospect to read it and say, that sounds really interesting, I'd like to register. So now there's just one more missing piece of the puzzle. How do we get the right people to register for this webinar? What we have found to work amazingly with webinars are YouTube advertisements. They're so powerful, and you can laser target in on the right person you want and bring them to the webinar. If you want to learn about that, there's a video up here where I break down exactly every step that you need to take to launch a successful and profitable YouTube ad. So go ahead and check that out. I hope you found this video helpful. Give me a thumbs up on it if you did, and don't forget to subscribe to the channel because we put out new great content every single week.